Hey everyone, welcome back to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. This morning I have with me the co-writer and director of a heartfelt little family film about a girl that's just trying to figure out her path. No, this is a not a heartfelt little family film. This is a dark and more than marginally twisted take on a classic novel. Gale, Stay Away from Oz. With me, director Daniel Alexander, all the way from the UK. How are you this afternoon for you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm still trying to work out the time difference, but I'm absolutely fine. I am good. Rushing to get to this interview that I've been excited for. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Well, let's talk about it. So, Gale, based on the Frank L. Baum novel, the Wizard of Oz novels.
Hmm.
This is a short film. It's 28 minutes, but I know there's more. I
Yes.
know there's more out there because two reasons. A, you tell us at the end. With the lovely to be continued. But two, if you watch the trailer, there's so much more in there. Did you set it up that way? I know indie film is different, and sometimes funding can lapse and availability can lapse, and your actors can do the thing. So you get this much shot, and then you have to stop.
Yeah.
What? So first off, why do we have 28 minutes of what I know you want to be a bigger project?
Sure. So, I mean, initially, the short film was always supposed to be a taster for the feature film that we want to put into production. So, the idea was to introduce the audience to the world and the kind of backstory of what we're trying to set up. So, essentially, we're finding Dorothy when she is now in her twilight years after a lifetime of trauma. And instead of kind of writing that or kind of putting it out there on some form of blog, it was a case of no, let's just create a short story to visually show the tone that we want to kind of carry forward into the feature film, which we are now, in the process of making happen.
Well, that is excellent, and at least from the short, there isn't so much focus on Dorothy. There's a young lady named Emily Gale, who we find out who she is in relation. It's an interesting take, and it does immediately allow you to go into some dark places. Not like the source material is all fuzzy puppies and unicorns and rainbows by any stretch of the imagination. There's some darker stuff in there. But Hollywood, when they made Oz, obviously there were scary bits, but it was more of a happy, colorful place. Return to Oz with Farouk Abal. Darker, wasn't quite as accepted. Can I just say that I think the approach that you have with the short and the tone that you've established with the short, I think might allow, and maybe horror sensibilities have changed, I don't know, but I think that's going to allow audiences to maybe kind of accept this version of Oz a little better than maybe they were ready to in the past. Is that something? Do you consider that the evolution of the audience?
Yeah,
when you're looking at it, or have there things where you're like, I don't know if they're ready for that yet? Or
it's a tricky landscape to kind of navigate because essentially it's a classic. You're touching a classic, something that traditionally people don't like to be messed around with, but I am really, really keen on enjoying the journey. I want a Wizard of Oz that I want to watch in this modern day today. Do you know what I mean? And reading the novels and understanding the source material, it's very dark anyway. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it lends itself towards where I'm trying to take the story anyway. Like if you were to just kind of put it down on paper and kind of list some of the elements of, demonic looking creatures, witchcraft, other worlds, other realms, it sounds like a horror film anyway. So that's how I kind of interpreted The Return to Oz. It felt very dark, especially at the age that I was watching it as well. So yeah. So I'm really hoping that the direction that we take in the film will allow audiences to not necessarily separate themselves from all of the Wizard of Oz material from beforehand, but just understand that this is a very particular direction that we go in, a very particular story and kind of tone that we're trying to set.
And it's not a huge departure. I mean, the Wheelers, that's, he wrote those, and those are still just creepy as hell.
Yeah.
And yours look great. in this. They're designed well. I loved that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, there are some horrific elements to it. And I think what I like about the short that we've got is there are those aspects to it, but I really did love the psychological trauma, which is what Emily is dealing with through this film. So even assuming a lot of things about Oz, this could almost be made in a vacuum, just as a weird psychological thriller, separate from the Oz the Oz source material. So how much thought or research did you put into maybe looking at that angle, that psychological thriller aspect of it, as opposed to more openly horrific elements?
Well, to be fair, that is very much the genesis of the idea that I had for the film anyway. I really wanted to kind of lean into the psychological aspect of the film. I knew that with the teaser, I had to kind of lean more into some more of the horror elements to kind of get the conversation going, to allow us the door to open, to allow us to kind of tell the story that we want to tell. But really, the source of the story is looking at the psychological trauma that Dorothy has gone through and how that has been passed down hereditary to her family and the people that are coming before her as well. To kind of play in parallel to what I see in real life with people that I care about very much, where somebody will suffer with something for a very long time, a very long part of their life, and then as they're getting older, you're seeing those same patterns being repeated to the people that are coming after them, because it's things that have not been treated. It's things that will be passed on, whether it's through behavior, whether it's through just through DNA memory. There's so many different ways that trauma can be kind of passed down, and that's really the heart of the film. It's about whether Oz is even real or not is kind of the second question to Emily and what she's suffering, and trying to find the root of the problem, and trying to research her family lineage, essentially, and stuff that we try to do today. Like if you go to a doctor and you have certain medical issues, the first thing they want to do is start trying to trace back into your family tree and try to see if there's any history of this. And that is very much what I'm trying to do with this film as well. It's very much about hereditary. It's very much about family lines and things getting passed down.
Okay, so here's an obvious question. Why does a guy from the UK want to choose the story of a girl from Kansas to wrap this up in? I mean, England has a rich literary history. What is it about Oz that put it above anything that you have natively?
I think the biggest thing for me is I grew up in a time where The Wizard of Oz, The Return to Oz, those type of fantastical films were the norm. Though for me, when I think about nostalgia and think about the stories that kind of shaped my creativity and my love for telling stories, were all American based anyway. Like here in the UK, we have a massive, rich history of amazing films. But for the time that I was growing up, the exposure was very much American fantasy films, American psychological films, American horror films. It was very much there. And The Wizard of Oz for me felt very universal. I never watched things as a child or even just a younger adult and put them down to locations and geographical places in the world. It was a case of, this is just an experience. You know what I mean? Like The Wizard of Oz for me is telling so many different stories and there's so many layers that I don't even bury myself in the elements of, okay, this is Dorothy, she's from Kansas, she's from America, Midwest, all of these things don't even matter to me anymore. It's a case of the story, the root of the story is what really speaks to me. And upon saying that as well, I'm pretty sure The Return to Oz was also filmed in the UK as well, so that felt like a little bit of a hook in the sense of, okay, let's keep this tradition up. You know, I'm trying to tell a story that in some ways is the continuation of The Return to Oz as well. So I just thought that was a nice little chink that I found at some point as well along the journey.
But hey, look, if you enjoy what you're seeing and hearing on the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, why not take a second to click subscribe if you're on YouTube, click follow wherever you're listening to us. Follow us on Twitter at VS Movie Podcast. Same over on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, it's Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. That would be awesome for us. We appreciate you listening. And now let's get back to the show. Your cast is also, I think, all English.
Oh no, we've got
Chloe. I know Chloe's
English. Laura,
who plays Emily. Nice accent, by the way.
Oh, yeah, she's good. She's talented. But no, there's two. We've got Clara, and so the person playing the psychologist, Laura, and the person who is at the Gale estate, Clara. They're both Native Americans. I say Native Americans. They're native to America.
Yes, there you go. Native American, completely different meaning.
Completely different thing.
Completely different thing. But no,
well, they live here though. They live in the UK.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as a person that moved around a lot as a kid, I know if you live someplace too long, you start picking things up. I also do know that if you go back, it's kind of easy to revert. So hopefully they were able to shed that. But no, they're great. Again, Chloe's accent is great. I had to look it up. I was like, she American? I wasn't sure. It's like, oh no, she's English. Okay, that's good. But again, I have a weird American accent, so because mine is from all over the place. So it's tough for me to go, I actually don't know if that's a good American accent, because I can tell if it's a good Southern accent or a good Northeastern accent. Okay. But after that, it's just like, yeah, that sounds American.
Okay.
A lot of British actors actually are really, really good at that. Those and those silly Aussies can all manage to do a really good American accent. But Chloe is great in this, and Laura, who plays the psychologist. Mm-hmm. I love the subtle nod to TikTok.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you got that as well.
To be fair, most people are just going to see that. And there's a couple things that will just scare the bejesus out of people. The piano theme to Halloween, everyone will immediately get scared and look over their shoulder. The sound of a metronome is it just starts to get in your brain, and it can become terrifying. It really can. But it was a nice little nod. I was like, he went there. It's nice. I like it. Subtle, subtle but welcome. Not overt. And oh my God, I can't believe they did that. So that happens a lot. So no, I appreciate you put a lot of little things in here for people to look at. I'll be interested to see how well, fan service can be bad. I don't think what you're doing is fan service. I think what you're doing is right. Which is good. Let's talk about where people can watch this, though.
Sure.
As near as I can tell, and please correct me as I'm wrong. You can watch it on Chilling, which is a new service.
Yes.
It's online. It's got an app. And their line is they kind of cater to the more independent film, the smaller filmmakers, but they also have a wider variety of horror movies as well. How did you find them? What have they done for you, and what are they doing for independents like you?
No, sure. So when I first put together the concept trailer, essentially, and it went out to the world and it went viral very quickly, and I was contacted by so many different companies, so many different production companies, but I've been doing this for a while now, and although I've not worked in the Hollywood system, I'm very aware of the structure of most production companies and how it can become just a monetization journey, or it can be very soulless. So despite having numerous offers for, we'll come on board and, we'll help you make this feature, or we'll give you the money to do X, Y, and Z, it didn't really interest me, because I'd never want to be in a position where I'm creating something that isn't at least authentic to me. So Chilling, I can't remember which of the guys popped up, but we had a brief conversation. They were just talking about the trailer and talking about their platform and how they were about to transition from audio to visual. And I just really loved the authenticity of the company and how they really cared about what I was doing and potentially taking things further in the future, maybe, turning things into a feature film. And it just felt like it was one of those companies where you could kind of go on a journey together. So as they're kind of transitioning into this world, I'm transitioning into this feature world. And because they were so authentic and really cared about independent filmmakers and didn't want to get in the way and didn't want to, butcher the story that I wanted to tell and turn it into something, with loads of blood and craziness going on, they were very much like, no, we trust you, do your thing. And that's what they did. They just let me do my thing, but we're always there to support. So that kind of relationship for me was key. It was the whole point of of me doing this in the first place, to find somebody that I could kind of, go on this journey with, and chilling's, been amazing so far.
So on that note, let's talk about what we can look for moving forward in terms of the Gale universe.
Sure.
What do you got in work? What are you hoping to have done? When? Because again, I know there's already stuff out there, and I'm keen to see it, and I know other people will if they watch this as well. So where are you at in this process now moving forward?
No problem. So we're just in a process right now of just perfecting the last little bits of the story. So we want to just make sure that the story that we're telling moving forward is the one that is right for us all, the one that I can live with and kind of look in the mirror and be like, yeah, this is, regardless of how this turns out, I'm so happy that I got to tell this authentic story. And then we just want to push full steam ahead on making the feature film and having it reach as many people across the world as possible.
Any plans to start shooting?
I mean, in an ideal world, we would start shooting next year.
In an ideal, yes.
We
don't live in an ideal world.
In this day and age, you never know what's going to pop up from one day to the next. But the plan is to get things moving pretty quickly. I mean, everything that we need in the sense of the story that we're trying to tell is there mechanically. Do you know what I mean? It's just making sure that because as soon as you pull the triggers, on making a film, there isn't really time for any kind of revisions, turnbacks or anything. It's full steam ahead, whether it's right or wrong. So this is the point where we have the luxury, working outside of Hollywood, to kind of just take that extra little bit of time to make sure that the story is the most important thing along the journey, and something that we'll always kind of hone everything back to.
Do you have your cast?
Yeah, so I still want to work. I still want to work with the guys that you've seen in the short, but we are really trying to work on some big surprises for the feature. So some faces that you'd be familiar with.
Nice. I look forward to that. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking about Gale. Stay away from Oz. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media or the film project if you've got an outlet for that.
Awesome. So if people haven't already got the app Chilling, definitely get that. I'm on Instagram mainly at Daniel Alexander Films, and yeah, I can't help but talk about everything I'm doing anyway. So you'll see the journey there.
All right, I appreciate it. Again, thanks for coming on, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.